Stop me if you've heard this one. An unlikely, underestimated, overlooked bunch of people come together through a dangerous cocktail of desperation and ambition and, using their unique skills, chance upon an innovative, illegal way of making the big bucks. At first, they stumble, fumble and falter before eventually finding their mojo and tasting success. Cue cash flying in the air celebration montage. That is until they appear on the radar of the bigger crime lords and gangsters who run the scene and who don't take kindly to a new player. Using intimidation threats and violence, the crime boss forces the group to work for him. All this while the authorities are also onto them. The lies start to pile up and the walls start closing in as they struggle to keep their personal lives at a distance from the consequences of their new criminal enterprise and the heavy toll it takes. It's a familiar template that served as the foundation for several shows. And for good reason. It bloody works. And I say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But Netflix's Dabba Cartel from creators Shibani Akar, Vishnu Menon, Gaurav Kapoor and Akanksha Seda isn't satisfied with sticking to the standard. It doesn't want to conform to the conventional. Instead, for better or for worse, it wants to mix things up by making some curious oddball decisions along the way.
माल तो मेरा है ना?
माल तेरा होगा, लेकिन मार्केट मेरा है.
So, aside from the crackling take my money premise of an all-women run drug cartel in Mumbai, well, Thane to be specific, elements of which we saw in Homi Adajania's memorable fever dream Saas Bahu or Flamingo, here we also get an ambitious second narrative track that runs in parallel. A large, heartless pharmaceutical company called Viva Life is illegally manufacturing life-threatening opioid painkillers and selling them under the table, costing innocent lives. So, aside from the origin story of a DIY drug cartel startup, an equal part of the narrative is dedicated to the buddy cop underdog story of tenacious government drug control officer Ajit Pathak, played by a delightful Gatraj Rao, and eager to prove herself police inspector Preeti, played by spirited Sai Tamankar, as they try to investigate and take down Viva Life. Dabba Cartel, written by Vishnu Menon and Bhavna Kher and directed by Hitesh Bhatia, is then a sort of urban Saas Bahu or Flamingo meets Dope Sick. 2 shows for the price of 1. And it does feel like that. Dabba Cartel is busy, jumpy and spreads itself thin, covering a whole lot of ground and balancing a sea of characters and subplots without thoroughly mining the potential of any one of them. In going broader, it risks diluting its impact. It's coherent, well packaged and very watchable, but seems to settle for the surface. And this is a show that's working with sensational ingredients, a banging premise, smashing characters and a bloody good cast. There's the cold, simmering presence of Shabana Azmi as Kashi, aka Sheila, aka Ba, the retired right hand of a Mumbai crime boss who sees a way to get back into the game she's missed so dearly. There's her gentle daughter-in-law Razi, played by Shrishti Pandey, a housewife whose very essence is at odds with the dangerous world she's thrust into. There's an absolute firecracker in Nisha Sain as Mala, the gloriously gruff, foul-mouthed house help in search of a better life. There's the scene-stealing swag of Anjali Anand as Shahida, the crooked broker who's instrumental in assembling these Avengers. There's Varuna, played by a commanding Jyotika, a failed entrepreneur living in the shadow of her potential who finds new purpose in taking the reins of a budding drug empire. But of this crew, it's Varuna that feels the most undercooked. She's the last one to be brought into the fold, and conceptually, hers should be an Arya-like formidable arc of a leader who doesn't know what she's capable of until she's pushed to the edge. But she isn't given enough to do. With her, the series seems to be constantly building up to something it doesn't quite arrive at. That aside, all I wanted to do was hang out with this marvelous mix of colourful personalities, to watch them play off of each other and get to know each other and themselves, to see them connect and collide, to watch them become and build an empire, to see them in over their heads and backed into a corner only to embrace the badasses they always were, to watch them navigate life-threatening but exhilarating criminal territory with only each other to rely on. And does this show give us all of that? Partially, kind of, sometimes, yeah, I guess. I feel like I could count on one hand the number of scenes we get to just be in the same room with these women as a group in the first few episodes. The narrative either seems hell-bent on constantly cutting away from them or else gives us inexplicably short scenes. At times, I felt like shouting at the screen to say, just stay with them and let them be. Let them cook. Pun intended. But Dabba Cartel is too furiously paced to give these women their due. They feel like pawns to the plot. The narrative is so brisk and breezy that it risks being flimsy and insubstantial and doesn't give us a chance to forge a meaningful connection with the group or them with each other. It's as if the makers are so desperately trying to cater to the impatient Instagram generation of ambient viewing that they're scared to take their time and trust this cast, these characters, and their delicious predicament to hold us. The joy of a great origin story lies in the clunkiness of the journey and not in hurtling towards a destination. I'm all for being aboard the series equivalent of a speeding train, but not if the scenery becomes a blur. That's why the rare sequences that take a beat and allow us to just be with these women are so delightful. Like one where Mala and Shahida decide to try the product. While I struggle with the bigger picture, thankfully there's much to hold on to and be charmed by in the smaller details and moments. Whether it's an unlikely gentle romantic arc, or that it's a well-packaged, good-looking series with a surprising but welcome amount of color, especially for a Netflix series. I like the casualness of the opening scene and how these women are unremarkably, matter-of-factly introduced, going about their business, hiding in plain sight. It's the opposite of a character introduction scene. I also love the detail of Mala's Bluetooth headphones that she wears like a necklace, or a slow-motion bike entry scene she gets early on that's nothing short of a mass moment, or a similarly exciting people-watching sequence on Marine Drive that gives us a look at how Kashi's mind works, or the fact that it isn't desperation that pulls the group into hot water as much as it is Kashi's selfish ambition. But the fact remains that I felt like I was forever floating above the surface of Dabba Cartel and not lost in it like I so wanted to be. If anything, it felt more like a Netflix movie than a series. Pleasant, functional, suitably tense, but unsticky storytelling that gives you the illusion that you're having fun. But months down the line, you wonder if you'll remember much of it at all. These actors playing these characters in this story deserve better. I was hoping for my fix, but it felt like all I got was a flashy mocktail. You can watch Dabba Cartel on Netflix. For more reviews like this one, subscribe to the Hollywood Reporter India's YouTube channel.